You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Upland Brits. What's going on, rookies? Welcome to the Upland Rookie Podcast. I am your host, Will Larson, and as always, this is presented by Upland Brits. Thanks to Eukanuba Premium Performance Dog Food. If you want to get everything your dog's got, then you need nutrition that holds nothing back. To unleash your dog's maximum potential, check out the new Eukanuba Premium Performance lineup at eukanubasportingdog.com. Also, thank you to Dakota 283, thank you to Cable Gangs, and thank you to OnX Hunt. Check all them out. Just look them up. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail here. Cable Gangs, hit up Brennan, mention the podcast. You'll get a choice of a free tether or a free 24-inch drop. Amazing system. I really love it. My wife loves it for around the house. She can stake the dogs out for a little bit during the day, switch things up a little bit. Dakota 283, you know we have the giveaway happening. It closes July 30th, so get those Upland stories in. Just email them to me, uplandbrits@gmail.com. Also, OnX Hunt, the most comprehensive digital mapping system out there. Guys, this system is an app. It's amazing. I was on it today. I was on it yesterday. I cannot get off OnX. I've been on it for a few years. Great digital mapping system. Drop waypoints, share waypoints. The layers that they have are endless. So I cannot say enough about OnX, but I have a promo code for you to use, TUR20. It's going to save you 20% off your OnX subscription. And I know I mentioned the Dakota 283 giveaway. The giveaway closes end of July 30th. I'll announce the winner on the following week's podcast. That'll be the first podcast in August. So get your entries in. The bonus entry section, I've had a few questions on it, but pretty straightforward, guys. Go ahead and just email me or message me. I don't care how you get it to me. Message me on Instagram, message or email me, whatever's easier. Just write down your Upland story, how you got started upland hunting, and how you got started with bird dogs. That's going to be worth 5 extra bonus entries. If you also want to do a video format of this, just sharing your Upland story via video, post it on your Instagram account, tag the Upland Rookie, use the Upland Rookie podcast hashtag. That's another 5 bonus entries. So you got a couple choices, whatever you're more comfortable with. I know a lot of you like video, some of you don't like writing, some of you do. So it just depends. I tried to provide a couple different options for you to get some bonus entries. So I wanted to actually read an Upland story that someone wrote into me. Colton Carlson, thank you for writing this story into me. So I'm going to read this on the podcast here. So bear with me. Here we go. Hey, Will, I started upland hunting 2 seasons ago, and I'm currently 24 years old from Minnesota. Sorry, I didn't mean to butcher that. I had never hunted or shot a gun before and didn't grow up in a hunting family. My girlfriend at the time, now my wife, wanted a dog for Valentine's Day. I got her a black lab. Since about 10 weeks old, Ripley has shown a strong desire to retrieve, and my now father-in-law told me that I better start hunting, especially with a dog that likes to retrieve so much. I started watching videos on training labs to upland hunt and how to start hunting. So Ripley and I completely self-taught. My father-in-law has been the greatest. He gave me an extra gun he had to go out that first season. Sorry, I'm butchering this. He gave me an extra gun he had to go out that first season, and we probably went out 5 times together. And we saw birds every time. But I was unable to shoot one my first season. I finally got my first bird while at school in South Dakota this past season, and Ripley and I finished the season with 6 birds, all on public land, hunting in South Dakota. Ripley is a 2-year-old British black lab. A funny side note is I am still looking to shoot my first Minnesota bird and have probably gone on a dozen hunts with my father-in-law and still haven't connected. I get it, man. I get it. Those things happen. Ripley has a great nose and flushes birds very well. He retrieves when we are with other dogs, but still won't when it is just him and I. That's interesting. He thinks they are toys still. I will do a lot of things differently when I get my second bird dog, but he does what I need him to do, and we have a blast doing it. This summer, we have been working on Ripley and having a soft bite and bringing the bird back when it is just us training. And I've obviously been working on my shot too. I would like to thank you so much for starting this podcast. I have a job with a lot of driving, so I've been using it to listen to your podcast. I am more motivated than ever to go out this fall and maybe try to hunt something other than roosters. Thanks so much, Colton Carlson. Well, Colton, dude, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing some of your story. Some of the things that I resonated with, missing birds. I think we all, even those that have been doing this for a long time, miss birds still. I've been doing it for 4 years. I missed a couple layups last year. I really like that. But I can resonate with, you shot your first bird in South Dakota. You've connected on a few. You still haven't shot a Minnesota rooster where you live. I think that's kind of funny. There's certain personal goals to us that matter to each of us individually. And it sounds like one of those goals to you is to shoot a home state Minnesota bird. And that's awesome. I think we all have those goals. I have a couple this year for connecting on a few Colorado species of birds that I haven't even hunted before. So it goes back to that goal thing, set a goal for yourself this year. It sounds like you are on the right track. I really, really thank you. I just loved reading the story, getting to know you a little bit more. And Ripley sounds like a heck of a dog. The other thing is, your first bird dog is going to teach you so much. I think we can all resonate with just how much of your first bird dog will really teach you. And going into it, you don't really realize that until kind of where you are now, is you're already thinking, hey, there's some things I'm noticing that I would just do differently with my second dog or third dog or whatever it might be. So cue into those things, write them down, throw them in a note on your iPhone or something, so that 2-3 years down the line, when you're ready to pick up another dog, you have those qualities that you are thinking about now that are going to be important to you and how you hunt the species of birds you hunt and all that. So whether it's temperament or drive or style or size or whatever it might be with your dog, write those thoughts down so that down the road you can look back and say, hey, these are the things that are important to me. This is how I hunt. This is what I like in Ripley. This is what I don't love in Ripley. And really kind of, I think picking up your next bird dog, you'll get to fine tune that selection a lot more. So listen up, guys. If you have and want to share your Upland story, again, message me on Instagram or email me at uplandbrits@gmail.com. Brits is BRITTS at gmail.com. So get your stories in. Again, the Dakota 283 giveaway closes July 30th. I am so excited for today's guest and for you to hear today's conversation. Today I chat with Brooke Lanning. We chat about everything from pointers, coon dogs, horses, trialing, getting into upland hunting, and just some overall positivity. I really enjoyed Brooke's outlook on uplands and bird dogs and just animals in general. So I really, really hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Me too.
Dogs are excited. They're back here.
Nice. I was gonna say you get the dogs out and
Yes.
let them burn a little energy.
Yeah, very,
Awesome.
very quickly. But
Okay,
yeah.
good. Sometimes that's all they need. We've been about 100 degrees here in Colorado the last few days, and it's been rough for getting dogs exercise and all that.
Yeah.
So
That's really rough. We've had a really nice patch of weather just recently where the rain stopped, and it's been in the 70s and
nice.
low 60s in the evening. So I've been taking full advantage and working all the dogs.
That is perfect. Yeah. We have to go out really, really early to get them any work in right now, but hopefully it's going to end in the next couple of days. So
yeah, I remember that I lived in Colorado for a little while. I remember that.
Oh, really? Okay. Nice. What part?
Fort Lupton.
Okay. Nice.
Which is outside of Denver.
Yeah. Yep.
Tiny town.
Yeah, totally. Cause that's out east of 70, like off 76, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So whenever for Colorado, any like pheasant or quail, you have to go out east. And so I drive by that quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's amazing that I used to live in all those, like that area, and I wasn't even into bird dogs or anything like that. So now I'm in the worst place ever.
Well, why don't you get us kicked off? Tell us a little bit about who you are and just put us on a map. Where are you located?
So I live in Medina, Ohio, which is south of Cleveland. My boyfriend and I, Eric Klink, we live on a farm. It's about 30 acres plus some leased land around us. So it's about 58 acres total. We have hay fields. We do some corn and soybean. So that's kind of like our little side business, right? And then I have horses, goats, and a very large bird population. I'm almost like a bird hoarder at this point. I have chickens, ducks, geese, and a ton of pigeons, obviously, for the bird dogs.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's me. I work for a global distribution services company called Fortna. We build distribution centers, or I should say we design and implement material handling systems into distribution centers. So it's a little different than the lifestyle that I live, but it keeps it interesting. So I'm on the marketing side of that. And it's a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome. So have you been working from home this past year? How's that been? Or are you going into an office, or what's that look like for you?
No, I've actually been working from home for the last 7 years.
Oh, nice. So you already were integrated into that.
Yeah. So I've been with this company for about 5.5 years now. But before that, I was also working remote for a similar company, a competitor. So it's been really great. The company that I work for, we have global offices, like satellite offices, like hubs all over the place. And I actually report to the Atlanta office, which I haven't been to in quite some time since COVID. But normally I travel for conferences and things like that. So hopefully, since things are starting to go back to normal, that will kick off again. But it's been nice to just be hanging at home, and it keeps it really nice for me because I have all the animals and all the dogs, and working from home makes it really easy for me to just, be able to kind of create my own schedule besides the conference calls, and be able to stop and say, okay, let's, have the dogs outside for an hour or so, and be able to get all of that accomplished in the same day. So it's nice.
Absolutely. No, that's for sure nice. I have to, when I'm away at work, I have to kind of rely on my wife to make sure, like, I'll remind her throughout the day, hey, make sure, if it's really hot, like, bring Gage inside, make sure he's not getting too out of, kind of working through someone else to take care of all the animals. But you say ducks as well. You said ducks, chickens, and pigeons, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
very
geese.
nice.
I have some geese too.
Geese. Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We during quarantine, we ended up getting chickens, and it's been a blast to there's a whole process of like raising them from chicks, building the coop. The kids are really excited about it, and it's been fun. And the bonus of having fresh eggs has been really, really cool.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I have like a full blown like petting zoo over here.
Nice.
I should open it up to the public. I actually do have a little like side hustle. I sell eggs.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, because I have so many of them. I easily have maybe 50 plus ducks and 40 plus chickens.
Dang.
And 10 geese. So they lay a lot of eggs.
Oh my gosh.
So I sell them every day. I just have the honor system. I have a little cooler outside.
Oh, that's cool.
Come and it's every day. People come and I put them out there, and some people will request like a certain order. Like I need 5 dozen. Yeah. I have a friend that has a bakery. And so I sell eggs to her. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's cool. That's a whole nother scale. we just got the five little chickens, and that's, we're once in a while we'll get enough to give away some of our neighbors and that, but that's super cool. You're a full-fledged, I don't know what poultry farm. I don't know if that's a correct term or not, but
you can call it that. You can call it that.
That is pretty cool. Hey, I wanted to we were chatting, we were messaging a couple of days ago, you and I, and it sounds like you've had a kind of a string of injuries to some of I know your horse has got a pretty good wound a couple of days ago. Yeah. Your dogs. What's been going on with the string of injuries here?
I wish I knew exactly what was happening altogether. It's been a very expensive week and it's not over yet. So I'm constantly like looking around, like what's going to happen next. I had to take my youngest in to the emergency vet. Her eyes were doing something very strange where her one eye was dilated quite a bit and the other one wasn't. And so to me, I was, thinking of like a head trauma or something like that. So she did, it seems like she had some sort of a small trauma. And so her eye is like healing from that. Oh. Otherwise she's acting completely normal.
Okay.
You would never, know the difference. But it was a little concerning for me. And so we have a follow-up for that. But, and one of my coon hounds, got a huge gash in the top of his head. I have no idea how he did that. And then my horse, she actually got a tree branch stuck in her neck. On Sunday, I pulled her out of the pasture and it was about maybe like 6 inches long. And
so it was still sticking in her when you pulled her in?
Yeah. So it was still in there. And so I tried to pull it out and I only got so much of it before it broke. So I tried, warm compressing it to try and get it to open up a little bit so I could try and push it out, but she was not having it. Ooh. So the vet came out and they're the one that made that gnarly cut.
Oh, so they had to make a bigger cut to get the branch out.
Yeah, they actually had to cut down. And it looks worse than what it is, but it's still a decent sized wound. There was still 4 inches of the branch, like
no way.
And it just popped out. Like it was really neat.
Oh.
So it has to heal open because it's on the neck and it moves.
Okay. Sure.
Moves. So, it's tough because horses grow, or agricultural animals or livestock, or I'm sure people even do too, but I'm not sure, but they grow proud flesh. Which it almost looks like it's like an accumulation of cells that are growing very, very quickly on top of the wound. And so you have to slough that off as it goes. Otherwise, it will just keep growing outward. And so it'll just be a healing process.
Is it like a scab? You have to that'll develop and you have to like almost sand down in a sense?
Yeah, it's like a big, big scab, but like more skin growing on top of skin.
Oh, okay.
It'll look like a mini brain. Like it's very ugly. It's very gross looking. But it's the way that the body is trying to like say, oh my gosh, we need to.
It's trying to repair itself. Yeah.
It's trying to repair itself very quickly. So, I'm already dealing with it, just even a couple days afterwards, I'm going out there and trying to get it off. So,
yeah, well, that sure does sound like a expensive week for you with vet bills. I kind of just a side question with the horse. So a vet comes out, they're trying to help this horse. Do they have to put the horse out for this? Are you putting it in a pen? Like, how does that? Because I mean, if you're I'm imagining like cutting a horse open to get a branch out. Yeah. That can't be a happy horse.
No, we did like a light sedation to her. Okay. So she didn't like actually fall asleep, but light sedation and then just a lot of different numbing of the area. She was still slightly awake when he was cutting into her. And obviously now she is not happy about me touching it whatsoever. So that's been interesting.
She's like, don't you come near me.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because, I mean, my horses, they just hate being stalled. So we have 2 big turnouts for them and they're just always out there. And now, like when I go to catch her every day for like her antibiotics and then just cleaning her, she's like giving me that side eye, like, no, nope. Not happening.
Oh my gosh. What, remind me, I know you said it in the beginning, but what kind of like farm are you on? Like, is it a cattle farm or is it you're growing crops? Like what kind of farm are you on?
So essentially we just grow hay here, on this property. We also have a secondary farm in Carrollton, Ohio, which is about an hour south of us. And we typically rotate from growing hay, soybean and corn down there. And that's a much bigger farm than what we have here. What we have here is mainly just back fields. And then it's kind of an interesting property because it opens up to additional fields that we don't own, but we lease them. Okay. And we're the only entry point for those fields. Like the other people live on the other side, like of the woods that butt up to it. So they just use it as like a CAUV type thing for a tax write-off.
Gotcha.
So.
And you said this is kind of the farming side's kind of a side thing for you, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so is that a family thing that got started? Is that something you started on your own or how'd that come about?
Yeah, it's just something that Eric and I decided to do when we got this property. We have a really close friend that is a farmer full time. And so we kind of contract him in to come in and cut the fields. And then we have our own equipment for certain things, but we don't own all of the equipment to do everything. So we still use like a co-op to do certain things or, him for other things like that. But it's been a nice little side business for us. And then for me personally, it's good to have my own hay for the horses. And
nice little bonus. Also,
yeah. Eric's father raises cattle as well that we sometimes keep down at the Southern farm. So it's nice to have all of that for the cows too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we got to talk about, you're in Ohio.
Yes.
You run bird dogs. You're big into bird dogs, horses, coon dogs, all that stuff. We'll get into those in a little bit. But just talk about being in the state of Ohio and being a bird dog owner. Like catch us up a little bit. What's that like?
It's awful.
I wasn't going to say that, but like, what's it like? Do you have even wild bird opportunities? Is it all preserves? Like, what is that like?
It's mainly preserve hunting. They do releases in several areas. We actually are quite lucky because we have several that are within like 15 minutes to a couple hours where they do, very large releases from say like 400 birds or something like that to 250, but
and sorry, real quick, are they releasing them on public land or like a club owns the land and they're releasing it on their land?
This is released on public land.
Okay.
Yeah. So obviously the Orange Army comes out and it's pretty wild, right? On smaller patches.
So people are kind of honing in on like, hey, I heard there's an insider tip that they're releasing birds.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's great now is, and I haven't confirmed this, but I was told by a friend of mine, Ben Taylor, that we're going to have a stamp this year. So I'm hoping that like adds to, something for the coming years for us, because we just do not have a good population. We belong to a bird club as well, which I run the tower shoots at and things like that. So I do have like a lot of really like good opportunities for my dogs. But other than that, it's really just, we have the woodcock season that comes in just when they're here. And then when they leave, it's sad. And between myself and, again, my friend Ben Taylor, we have some decent spots that we know to go to for woodcock. So we take full opportunity of that. And other than that, it's just, we got to travel.
Yeah. Dang. That's gotta be tough. Cause like you said, it sounds like the whole, maybe whoever's a hunter in the state of Ohio is probably flocking to, these areas.
Yeah.
Does the Ohio, I don't know if it's DNR or
Yep.
Rangers or whatever it is it public knowledge of where they're releasing, or is it just, okay.
Yeah. And it's been limited. Like, I think that they've added more birds over the last few years to try and, make it so that there's more of a wild bird population. And there are certain areas where you can go that, after like the big rush, there will be some birds that are hanging out that are considered wild, that have been there for a year or so. And there's hatchings and all of that, but it's nothing that's extreme to where you're like, yeah, we have wild pheasants in Ohio. It's like, no, we don't.
Just on the wild bird side, is that a recent numbers have gone down? Is that a historical for the last 20 years you haven't had wild birds? Like, do you know any of the history?
It's been historical. I think it was like, back in the 80s, there was like a really bad storm, like winter storm that blew through, and it said it killed off everything. But I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the agricultural practices, and there's just not enough. So it's,
enough
it's bad.
Quality habitat and management.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Woodcock hunting. I haven't talked to anyone really about that at all. Like, what is that? Because are they reverse migrators? So they're coming south to north in season?
No, they go down.
North to south.
Yes, they go down and then they come back up.
Oh, okay. So do you get two cracks at them, or is it?
You do, but the second crack that you get, they're nesting. So you really shouldn't.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
you get one crack at them.
You get one.
Okay.
Yeah, you get one.
Okay, sounds good.
Unless you're a really good dog.
Okay. Okay. So they're kind of like a waterfowl, like a duck, something like that.
Yeah.
Like they're migrating, they're kind of passing through.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. And and you're not over water for them, right? It's just, you're in the woods, the brush, the grass. What are you in?
Yes, but they do tend, at least for here, they do tend to be in the swampier areas, or areas that maybe flood lightly. So there's like some water on the ground is what I've noticed for the areas that we find them in around here. I don't know if it's like that everywhere else, but in the places that we find them, they're typically near some flooded areas.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. All right. So how did you get started in this? Did you grow up hunting? Did you just start it recently? Like tell us your story. Like how or why did you get started hunting?
Yeah. So my family I did not come from a hunting family whatsoever. My entire background previous to dogs has been horses. Horses were like my first love. They'll always be, a part of my life. I don't feel like I'll ever not have horses. And so I moved around quite a bit in my life. I was born here originally, and then my family moved to Las Vegas. So I grew up in Nevada. And from there, I went to California and did some barrel horse apprenticeships with a couple of different trainers. I worked on racetracks. I loped out horses and things like that. And I always had Australian Shepherds. So herding dogs were always like my breed of choice. And I just always gravitated towards dogs. And so I then moved to Colorado, and I lived in Colorado for some time, and I did another barrel horse apprenticeship there. And that is when I reconnected with my now boyfriend, Eric, and he had an English pointer, and her name was Fancy. Okay. And unfortunately, she passed away too soon. There was a tragic accident, and we lost her. And during that process, I happened to find her last living sibling, which was Candy. So she was my first bird dog. And so I kind of like made it a point that I wanted to really like learn everything about that there was, about training a bird dog. And sorry, I'm getting choked up because Candy just passed away.
That's okay.
Yeah. But so she was very influential for me. And at that point in time, we were mainly just going to the bird club that, we belonged to. And she was a field trial reject and she had some flagging issues. And so she was kind of this project for me. And it was super fun. And I didn't do everything right. It was touch and go. But I had so much fun doing it. And it got to the point where, we would go out and we'd bring friends and, I ran the dog. And when the dog did good, it was like a huge success for me. And it was so neat because it became a huge passion for me. And like, she created that for me and it was awesome. And so because of her, I got my second dog, Tess. And then because of her, I got my third dog, Fancy. And so, yeah, that's just kind of been the progression that has happened with that. And over time, I've honed in on, the way that I like to train my dogs now. But I always feel like I start with the same foundation. And I feel like my foundation comes from what I learned from like the herding dogs. And I guess that's the roundabout way of how I got into hunting, but it would be impossible to not be into hunting, living with Eric. Hunting in this household, it's by season. I mean, he's a waterfowl hunter, he's a deer hunter, he's a turkey hunter, and then it's like fishing. So it's like, it's always something.
It's always something new.
It's always something. And he appreciates the upland hunting, but it's not as fun for him. So it's more something that like I do on my own. And I really enjoy the youth release that they have here in Ohio. They do like youth releases where it's like only kids are allowed to go out.
Yeah.
So I always think that that's always such like a rewarding time for me because I don't have kids personally, but we'll take out friends' kids that have just started hunting and watching their face, when like the dog brings the bird back to them or something.
It's so lights out. There's nothing better than that. Yeah.
And it's so cool. And it's like, for me, you almost like forget about the fact that you are, hunting on this public land and these birds were probably released, like 2 days ago. And yeah, they've been running around or whatever, but they're not wild birds, but it's still so much fun. And
the kids don't know that. They're like you said, they're so excited that they found a bird, the dog like they're just caught up, I think, in the moment. And that just that new experience, I think, can be really, really special.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I enjoy the heck out of it every year. And we always try and find new kids. So it's something awesome to look forward to.
Okay. So you said a lot there. And I have so many, I have so many like just follow-up questions. First, we're going to take a little detour back to horses real fast.
Yes.
What is a barrel apprenticeship?
So barrel racing.
Barrel racing. Okay.
Yeah. Barrel racing is a sport, right? With rodeo. And then they also have like divisional races. And so the barrel racers that I was apprenticing at the time, they were doing rodeo and they were also training young futurity horses. So like, for example, if you had a field trial derby prospect, it would be like that, but for horses. And they have specific big money races that horses can get entered into through like a breeding program or whatever. For young horses. And so those are the type of people that I was surrounding myself around because that was the passion at the time. And it still is, but now it's like it's dual. I have
Okay. It's competing with the bird dog side.
It's competing. And that's why the field trial was like, that's perfect.
Gotcha. Okay. And probably more importantly, I should have started with this. First off, I'm sorry you lost. Was it Fancy? Candy.
Well, yes, Candy.
You lost Candy. Okay. First off, I'm sorry. I know that happened pretty recent, and I'm sorry. That has to be so hard. I have 2 bird dogs right now, and they're both alive and well. I've never lost a bird dog. I've lost pet dogs back when I was a kid and all that.
Yeah.
And I know how hard it is. So I'm sorry. That's really tough. So it sounds like when you met your boyfriend, Eric, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you met him, that was that the first time you ever heard about or knew there was an English pointer, or did you know about them before? Or?
I mean, I knew about them, but I never thought in a million years, like, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be following dogs around with a gun. That was the furthest thing from my mind. For the longest time, like I said, I just had the herding dogs. I had 3 of them at one time, and I would use them to move horses at the ranches that I worked at. And, sometimes we would use them for, maybe some of the local rodeos to like move the bulls and things like that. Like that was, but the training aspect, that has always been passionate of mine. It was something I took really seriously with all of my dogs. And so this just came pretty natural, honestly.
Awesome. So you saw that beautiful white dog, that long tail, and you're like, I want those. That's what I want.
When we first got Candy, she was kind of a runaway, and I'll never forget, like, we turned her loose and she just took off. And I was like, wow, that's like watching a horse take off, like really like watching a horse take off. And I have a tendency to kind of compare dogs to horses quite a bit when it comes to like, conformation, or, just like athleticism or things like that. And so, yeah, I compare them to horses quite a bit. And they're like mini greyhounds. The pointers they're so fast. It's like when you watch them, they're either taking your breath away or having a heart attack. You're not really quite sure.
I've heard people refer to them as like the Ferrari kind of bird dogs. They're the bird dog. It sounds like people who own them they rave about them, and they say they're just kind of another level to some degree. It's just how they act and perform, and their speed and athleticism. I haven't seen one in person, work a field or hunt behind one, but I definitely want to get behind one someday.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience. And I feel like living where we are, I feel like I'm hindering them quite a bit. So that's why this year we're going to try. And we have plans to go out west, and I have a couple of different hunting trips planned. So that is the goal.
Nice. That's really awesome.
Really get them out on the prairie and let them roll.
That's awesome. We're going to dive into that in just a second. I want to hear a little bit more about maybe possible trips or that. But you said something earlier, Candy was a field trial reject. What does that mean exactly?
So I think it can mean a lot of different things. And I'm completely new to field trials. But from what I've learned so far, if a dog is showing certain signs that shows that they're not a good prospect, there's always going to be another one that is, right? So she came from a breeding program that was actually local here, with a professional trainer. So she came in and she immediately got put on the side. I think she got some puppy points, but she never went much further because she had a flagging problem. So every time she would go on point, she would never stay steady. It was just back and forth. Okay. And she kept that for quite a while. She mostly would just flag on planted birds. So every time we would take her out to the club or something like that, unless a lot of times we would just tell, the people like, just let them go you just dump it. Like, dump the box, let them go, don't plant them, we'll find them and pick them up. But Yeah, I think that was really her issue. I mean, I'm grateful that was her issue, because that, made her available to us at a really cheap price. So
that's good. Kind of a blessing in disguise.
Exactly.
So, all right. So the field trial sides, we touched on that. I guess we'll touch on that a little bit. Like, so is that something you've gotten into recently? And kind of why is it just, like, what is it about field trials that kind of drew you to that? Do you like the kind of like pushing your dogs, testing your dogs to kind of see their abilities? Like, what's that experience been?
Yeah. So I think I like the competition of it. So originally I thought that Nastra was going to be like a good area for me. And I went to a couple and it was fun. I will say that it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. But I enjoy I enjoy just the traditional field trials, how there is more than just how many birds can the dog find. It's, it's based off of, the overall performance of the dog, the race that the dog gives, and just like the ability, the overall ability that the dog shows, and how best a handler can showcase that dog. And so I like that a lot more than just rushing behind my dog and finding them
as fast as you can, find the birds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm still rushing behind my dog, turning them loose. But yeah, I've been to 3 this far. And the first one was a horseback trial, which is what I mainly want to stay with.
Okay. That was my next question, was kind of like, are pointers do people even attempt foot trials or walking trials with pointers?
Yeah, they do. So the last 2 that I went to were foot for walking trials.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun. But again, it's you're at a disadvantage, because when your dog gets way out ahead of you, you can't see him. When you're on a horse, on the right grounds, you can sometimes, see them passing by or things like that. But yeah, it's definitely something that you have to like get accustomed to. So like I said, I am still learning. Like I told myself when I got this puppy, Fancy in particular, I told myself that she was going to be the dog that was going to introduce me to field trials.
Okay.
And I made that a goal, like a goal that like I wrote down and, I said by the time that she was 6 months old, that's the cutoff when they can enter a puppy stake, that I was going to enter her, and I was going to enter her as much as possible until the season was over. And so that's what I did. And nice. I'm really happy that I was able to accomplish that. There were, there's a lot in the area that I could go to. This last one that I went to, I literally drove 6 hours there and back to run one dog.
Oh,
and I didn't place.
That's commitment.
I would do it all over again.
Yeah.
I would go the same. I would go further. It was so much fun. And and
that was with Fancy, right?
Yep. That was with Fancy. So for the goal for this coming season, so there's a fall season, and then, it starts back up again in the spring. So, the goal for next year is to run Tess in open shooting dog, and then to run Fancy her derby year. So I'm going to go full-fledged.
There you go.
Hardcore. I got the horse trailer, got the truck. We're going to load up.
You're committed. You're like all in. Let's do this. Here's my goal. Let's accomplish it. I love that.
Yeah.
That is
I'm
awesome.
excited.
That's so good. A couple podcasts ago, I think I was talking about just the importance of like everyone having a goal with your dog. Like no matter whether it's running trials or getting your dog force fetched or getting more steady, whatever it is, like everyone's going to have personal goals, but like, hey, let's write those down. Let's actually like talk about those and make steps to meet those goals. And so I think that's awesome. You just kind of, hey, let's write it down and let's go for it. Let's just get these dogs entered. And
and it's so good to like, when you write it down, it becomes permanent, and, put a like a good time frame on it, right? Like not anything crazy, you know, like I have to do X in this amount of time, but if you make it reasonable, something that you know that you know, have the ability to accomplish, and you can move your goals out. They don't have to stay, but it's so nice to be able to check something off. Like I entered her in her first trial at 6 months. Like I checked it off and it was like, that's awesome.
I think that's a really good key you said there is your goal. It sounds like you wrote down like enter her in her first trial, not make sure she wins. It was, hey, let's take a baby step, like get her entered. That's step one. And then, I think things can build upon that and grow and develop. And I think they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so important.
That's so cool. And you say you did 3 trials. How'd they go? Just real quick, like how'd the dogs do? Like what are some of the takeaways you took away?
Yeah, they did really, really good. So I actually had a friend of mine that went with me. His name's Tyler Biggs. He ran one of his pointers as well, a young pointer male. And it was just such a cool learning experience. The first trial, I had no idea, again, inexperienced. I had no idea that I entered a championship trial for pros. But I knew it was an open trial. I knew that it was open. So when it's open, it means that it's open to the pros. And when it's amateur, it's just the amateurs. So I knew that we were going to be, you know, running against pros and things like that. I did not know how it was going to stack up where it was like pro, and then like amateur. So that in itself was an experience. So everybody that I talked to told me that, you know, you definitely should watch or, you know, walk or ride every brace, because that way, you know, the type of dogs that won and you know what to look for. So when you see, really like, good, you can remember, right. Or tips and tricks from handlers or things like that. Yeah. So it was a really cool experience. I had a ton of takeaways. Our first trial was a little bumpy.
Who were you? You were just running
fancy.
Just running fancy. Okay.
I was just running fancy. Yeah. It was a little rocky at the start. So I had been teaching her to break from my voice and with like a little touch on her butt. And it was different because I was on a horse and they had you come down a hill. So she had to be at the top of the hill and I was at the bottom of the hill. Oh. And this other dog, this brace mate that she had, and this is something else that I'm learning with puppy stakes and how some people kind of refrain away from puppy stakes, is that, you know, puppies are puppies and they want to play or fight or something. Well, Fancy is very mature for a puppy. She is very serious. I always make fun of it. She's a very like mature 9-month-old puppy. And this other dog was trying to fight her. So it made things a little uncomfortable. She got a little bit nervous, but she eventually went on. But her second trial, she actually placed. She got second out of, I think it was 12 dogs. So that was really, really rewarding.
That's awesome.
Especially because it was like pouring rain and freezing. I mean, freezing. I had on 4 or 5 different layers, and it was a walking trial. But it taught me the type of grounds that I think are better showcasing for my type of dog. So the third trial that I went to was considered a cover dog trial. And so that means that it's more of a woods course. So there's woods and fields. And it was a 20-minute brace. So in the trial where my dog placed, my dog was able to showcase a lot better on more of an open ground. So you could see her when she was running big, 300-400 yards out, but you could see her running, right? You could see her running along an edge, where at these cover dog trials, this particular course, she'd run through that wood course. You wouldn't even see her. She was gone. She was gone. She actually even went missing for a couple of minutes. And the judge was like, do you know where she is? And I was like, I know she's ahead of us. And
I know she's that direction. Yeah.
She's that direction. Yeah. She was like 300 yards up. Ooh. And she was in the cover and she popped out, when I called her, but she was definitely, further ahead than us and the brace mate. The brace mate was, staying a lot closer. So yeah, it's been an experience, just like learning things like that. Right. And I know that I'm just going to keep learning. Like I'm the type of person that says like, I want to go in and I want to fail, because that's how you learn the most, right? Sure. You learn the most from your failures and your successes. Even when she placed, I had all these questions like, well, why did she place? Like, why did she place over?
What did she do well?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what did she do well? What did I do well, versus what I did poorly in the other ones. So, yeah, it's just, it's been a process, and all of the people have been so great. Like the last trial we went to, we met a ton of really, really awesome people, and, just asking them, these same types of things, like what can a handler do better? And how can I better prepare my dog? And so I'm awesome. Looking forward to the rest of the successes and failures ahead of me.
That is so cool. Okay. Last thing with trials. I don't know a ton about trials. It's something I do want to get into more here. I've only done one AKC hunt test with my older dog Gage. Ton of fun. It kind of like planted that seed in me where I'm like, I kind of want to do this a little bit more. It was really fun. The people, all that. But so in the trial arena, is it like so many placements get you title, or how do you know how those work?
That's something that I'm figuring out as well. So I think it's different per association. Sure. So there is different associations within American Field and AKC. Sure. So my dogs are American Field registered, but they can run an AKC dual registered trials. But there are, like I said, there's different associations that hold like different brackets. Gotcha. And some of those placements can go towards championships or different stakes. So that's been something that I've been trying to figure out, especially for tests. For example, there's an amateur pheasant shooting dog trial series in my area between Ohio, PA, and I think New Jersey. And I think you only need one open placement to be able to compete at the championship, which is held in the fall. So I think what I'm going to do is one of the championships is held kind of what I would consider like, I guess, our home grounds now. It's the closest one where they hold trials. So I think I'm going to go and at least watch and spectate and ride the braces and see how those dogs run and try and take some notes for what me and Tess can do to get back and kick some butt.
What a way to learn. Just get in there, watch, observe, ask questions. That's probably the best thing anyone can do to get into something. So I love that. Okay. My guess is you're doing a lot of the training of your dogs yourself. Is that correct?
I am. Yes.
Okay. How'd you learn that? Like what did you how'd you figure this out? How did you know hey, here's how to work with a bird dog and steady them up and introduce them to birds? Like how did you learn that? And just talk about kind of the progression of what you've done with your dogs.
Yeah. So like I said, with Candy, I think it was like all trial and error with her. I was not doing things correctly. She was broke to flush and would always break at the shot, which made her a really good guide dog, which is something that I did last season with both Candy and Tess, is I did some private guiding on private land through some people that I met. And I also worked at another club where I did tower shoots. So that part of it, like I said, it was just trial and error. But when I got Tess, I knew that I wanted to get very, very serious about it. And like I said previously, I think I start my foundation with my dogs all from how I trained my herding dogs. Not to say that my dogs are out there moving ducks around, but I like a really soft responding dog. I like a dog that's very, very soft, like on the leash, and just soft in general, soft to the touch, not like
not a silky coat, but like
no,
very
but
like
like
you can
like
handle them
tangent.
well, and they're not like a hard-headed, stubborn dog.
Yes, I want a dog that is like quick responding. And so I do a lot of like different types of like recall drills that make a dog really, really soft. But other than that, I would say that that's just like my, beginning, whatever stages.
Did you do a lot of like clicker training, like positive reinforcement, like when they're puppies?
No, I never did anything like that. But as everything moving forward from that, I have taken the kindness that Sergio Velez, who runs Boss Kennels, where I've gotten Tess and Fancy from. I would consider him like he has been kind of my mentor moving forward with all of this. And he has sent me video after video after video of how he started his puppies all the way through. And so I have really, really stuck to that program.
It's a great way to learn of when you have that person to kind of like just help shape and show you some ideas and concepts. That's really helpful.
And he's been very, very kind. I know that there's a lot of people out there, not to like bash the community or whatever, but there's people that like hold things very like, close to the vest and don't want to share information and stuff like that. But he's been very, very kind and has shared a lot of information with me. And it has really, really advanced the progress that I've made with my dogs. And with Tess, I think she's 4 years old now. And she is steady to shot. And I would say it took me a lot longer with her because my goals were different at the time, right? I just wanted her to be a hunting dog at the time. And now I want her to transition to be a trial dog. And I think she has what it takes to get there. But I've used, exactly what he has shown me to do. And now I'm doing it with Fancy, and it really, really works. And it doesn't require a lot of pressure. And that's what I like. I don't like putting a lot of pressure on my dogs. So it's been really, really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. What, I know people can't see this, but what dog is behind you passed out on the bed?
That's Fancy.
Fancy. Okay.
Yeah, there's actually there's three of them back there.
Oh, nice. She is passed out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe a misconception, or maybe it's not, I don't know. Whenever I talk to someone about pointers, they say to me, oh, they're crazy. They're strong-headed. They're nuts. I mean, is that true? Is it not?
I have not had that experience.
Okay.
But all of mine live in
I think so, because they look super chill and relaxed.
Yeah. Although I will say, I think it's different when they're in maybe a kennel situation where they are not, maybe work consistently or at least have an outlet consistently. So just recently, a close friend of ours, was having some, health difficulties. And so we took in his young pointer female, and she's back there. Her name is June. And she was strictly a kennel dog. She was wound up. So maybe that's where that stereotype comes from. I mean, I have seen quite a few. I've also seen a lot of GSPs that are wound up. So I'm sure just any super active dog that if you put them in a position where they're not, getting activity, and they're just, pushed up in a kennel 24/7.
I think that's really well said, because like there's Brittany's that can be wound up. There's GSP, there's all these dogs that we all love, but they're all working dogs. They all bred for work and running and finding, so if we coop them up, then gosh, your bird finding golden's going to be crazy if it's,
exactly
not worked properly.
Yeah. Even if you had like a lab that was like 50 pounds overweight or, whatever, if that dog never did anything, it would be, probably rambunctious in the house or do something.
Exactly.
But I work mine at least 3 times a day. And that's not like I'm, running them strenuously, but I take them out in the early mornings and I let them free run the fields and while I'm doing barn chores. And then we do an afternoon, like strategy run. I like to call it
a strategy run. What is this?
I release them all at once, like a brace.
Okay.
I'll release them all at once. And I run my hounds with them too. So they do it too.
Okay.
But they'll take off in all different directions, and I try to mimic a trial situations where they need to come in and they need to stay ahead of me. And it's not just we're out there free running.
So it's a little more serious. Hey, let's focus a little bit. Okay.
Yep. So I do that in the afternoon, typically around noon. And then in the afternoons is when I like to do bird work. When it's nice and cool.
Nice. You got a solid plan there. That's that's awesome. Coon hounds. I can't not ask you about coon hounds. It looks like you do some coon hunting with you got some coon dogs. I'm fascinated by that. Just tell me a little bit about again, I kind of like to understand how you got started in that area, but then also what is that experience like? How does someone do a coon hunt? Do you turn dogs loose and tell me about that.
I would have never thought that was something that I would get into. Even after I got into the bird dogs, I would have never thought that I would have been into coon hunting or coon dogs at all. I always thought, when I would see them place, I'd be like, wow, that dog's really loud.
Yeah.
It's gotta be so annoying. But now I appreciate it. So kind of interesting again. I had my oldest, I still had my Aussies. My Aussies lived a long time. Thank goodness. Both of them lived to be almost 15 years old.
No way.
And I lost my oldest one. His name was Dewey. And I lost him. And, he was like my first dog. And so when you lose your first dog, it's like this big hole. And I tend to feel like I try to fill things with other dogs or just other things to focus on.
Sure.
And these dogs that I have now, they were at the time, they were running loose on about 1,000 acres of a wildlife area here in Ohio. And they had been running loose on and off for 2 years. But for this particular time, they had been running loose for almost 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And for some strange, crazy reason, I thought that I needed to have those dogs. I don't know why.
You're like, I want those.
I want that problem. I don't know why.
Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely insane. But yeah, there was a woman that happened to trap them. And she knew who the owners were. They didn't want them anymore. And so we ended up going, I had Eric, he was waterfowl hunting, and he went and picked him up on Thanksgiving morning. Okay. But at the time, there was only one of them. So she had given the other one to somebody else. And I was like, well, that doesn't work. I need to have
I want two.
I need to have.
I want two problems.
Yeah. I need to have the pair because they were brother and sister. And so I ended up tracking her down 2 months later. And I got her in December. And so they were absolutely nuts. You want to talk about wild. They had never been inside a house. They tried to eat everything. Oh, wow. Chickens, ducks. And the property that we live on, nothing is fenced. So that's just always open. A challenge. Yeah. It's all open. And that's always a challenge too, when you have big running dogs. And that's another reason why it's I need to have a handle on all the dogs that I have. Yeah. They need to have a good, strong handle. But yeah, so I got these coon hounds and I hand walked these coon hounds all around my property. I mean, I probably looked like a crazy person, little tight leashes. I'm walking these dogs around for, about a month until I finally got them to start responding to me. And then I e-collar trained them. And I was like, well, I'm not having these dogs without them, having a purpose or at least serving the purpose that they were designed to do. And so they were like 3 years old at the time. And I started like training them like puppies. I started looking up all the things that I had to do.
Back to ground zero.
Yeah, I got the Coon scent, I got the drags, and I'm dragging it around my yard and, doing all that and tying it up in trees. And they took to it like nobody's business, obviously. And it was something else that it was a distraction at the time, but it was so much fun when it started clicking, when everything started clicking in their minds. And to this day, like they've just become such good dogs to have. I mean, they are, if anybody has a farm, have a hound. Talk about like all the time patrol.
Yeah.
And gets on this property.
They are going to find it and tree it and figure it out.
Or just
take care of it. Yeah. They will take care of the problem.
Yeah. We had a fox coming around here.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Nope, not anymore.
They're cool. They're cool looking dogs too. I mean, they might be noisy, but they are cool looking dogs.
And you come to respect, and I am not a houndsman by any stretch, but it is so cool. Turning them loose, like you said, you just turn them loose, and like essentially that's what you do. You just turn them loose.
So just walk me through like a coon hunt. So it's generally at night, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so just walk me through that. What's that like?
Yeah. So generally, maybe but 30 minutes to an hour after the sun goes down is when the coons will start kind of coming out and looking for food. And you go out there, you find a good spot in the woods, and you turn the dogs loose and you let them go until they get treed.
Okay.
A lot of people, because I do have some friends now that coon hunt, they'll just sit in their truck and watch it. I just
GPS.
Think
yeah. You kind of sit and wait.
I don't want to sit and wait, which is why I always find myself in like horrible situations because I go out in the middle of the night by myself.
Oh, gosh.
But I like to follow them.
Yeah.
I'll follow them in. I let them get out there quite a ways, but I like to follow them in and listen. And they're crossing the river and in whatever, and then just walking up to them. And when they're treed and that they have it, and you look up, and I have a little red light. And,
okay.
I'm always shining it around, and you take either a 22 or sometimes I'll take my 20 gauge pump.
Okay.
And, but coon season here in Ohio is actually fairly short, which is actually kind of sad because we have a huge population and especially, in like farm country where we live, I mean, everybody has coon problems, they're getting the grain bins and all kinds of things. And so there's a couple of farms that I go to during the season, and the farmers are real happy when I take the coons out. I run public land and private land, and there is a big misconception that a lot of people won't let you run your coon dogs during deer season because they think they run. And I will say, if your dog is trashy, so to speak, and it runs deer, then that's a problem. That's a huge problem. But if you have a dog that is strictly focused on coon, mine are, they are not going to scare the deer. I mean, I've even several different times I've had where my dogs will be treed on private land, public land, and the times that I can think of. And there have been deer bedded down maybe 30 yards from where they were.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, that'd be so fun to do.
It's a lot of fun. It's like,
I bet.
It's like you're walking out in the woods and it's like the Blair Witch Project movie. Like, it's like, I can't tell you.
It's a little leery. I mean, it is. That takes some guts.
You got to be a confident person. That's for sure.
For sure. Are training coon hounds, is that like, is the biggest thing you're training them to do is like, besides the scenting, I'm talking like, pointing dog, you're working on steadiness, recall, like there's some different aspects. Are coon hounds really just recall? Is that the biggest thing you're working on them with besides the scenting and all that?
Well, no. So just like as you're teaching a dog to stand on a bird and to stand steady, it's the same thing as you're teaching a dog to stand on a tree. Especially dogs that are used for comp hunting. Again, something else I've never done, but would like to do with potentially another set of dogs. You want a dog to stay up on a tree, just looking up and barking. You don't want a dog to leave a tree. So that's all part of the process when you're training one. Sometimes you'll tie a dog back off of a tree so that it keeps them wanting to get on the tree.
Interesting.
So yeah, there is a little bit more to it. And again, I'm not an expert by any means, but
you're figuring it out. You're having fun. You're asking questions.
I had a blast with these dogs, and I still do. And I take them out year round. They run my woods every single night. And thankfully we don't have a huge coon population around here anymore. I wonder why, but
I
mean, in our little area anyways, they've kind of, pushed out of our woods. But yeah, it's been a blast.
Just wanted to take a quick break and remind you to check out OnX Hunt and use my promo code TUR20. It's going to save you 20% off your OnX Hunt subscription. Guys, the detail and the layers that OnX provides is something I use in the off season, in season, year round to scout out, map out new locations that I want to hunt and chase more wild birds. So get your OnX Hunt subscription today, TUR20.
Almost all white. He has a little bit what they call like lace on her ears, and she actually has a heart on the top of her head.
Oh,
not
cool.
Kidding. It's like a little orange heart on the top of her head.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's just so she's completely white, but she has the orange on her ears and that little spot on her head. And I think as she ages, she might get some light ticking through her back.
Oh, nice.
But other than that, no, she's completely white. She's like a ghost.
Freaking gorgeous. love it. I think you and I, a while back, we talked about just like, there's something about a white dog that's just, there's something special. And that's why I was, honestly, mostly drawn to picking Gage, my older one, is because out of the whole litter, he had the least amount of orange. And I was just, for whatever reason, I was drawn to that. The less orange, the better. And I was like, I'd like the white, more white, the better.
I love it.
Really cool.
Yeah. I mean, not to say that there aren't dogs that are with the patches and stuff. There's some pointers
very unique. Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful, but I love both of mine. They're like completely white. Like Tess is behind her, and she is completely white. She doesn't have any ticking on her body. She's completely white, but she has an orange mask on her face. Okay. And I love that too.
That's cool.
I appreciate the all white.
Yeah, that's cool. I haven't shared this with a lot of people. I was like this close to buying a pointer a few months ago. I don't know what got into me. I was like, these dogs are awesome. I got to have one. And then I kind of like snapped back into like Brittany mode. I was like, oh, I love the Brittany's. They're amazing. So
they are actually super cute.
Yeah, no, they're great. But the pointers, gosh, they're just, I had my name on a list. I was like, I talked to a couple breeders and I was like, I was in, but then I was like,
you know what? I have a couple of friends that are guides in Oregon, and their two breeds of choice is Brittany's and pointers.
Oh, interesting.
And that's like cool. Mainly what both of them have is Brittany's and pointers. They have a couple dogs in between as like filler dogs, but those are the dogs that they keep and they breed.
Interesting.
They think that the Brittany's work better in different cover, and then the pointers work better in a different kind of cover for wherever they're guiding at. But that's
so basically what you're saying is the Brittany's and pointers are kind of like the top two, bird dog. Yeah. I get it. I get it.
Pretty much means that you need to get a pointer.
I mean, my wife she was giving me a hard time when I was kind of in this pointer realm. She's like, well, like your whole thing is called Upland Brit. She's like, it's going to throw it all off. And I'm like, well, yes, that's kind of true. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe someday.
Yeah.
But they're cool.
I see it in your future.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see it too. Honestly, one of the big things for me, and this is so weird, is the long tails. I think they look awesome, but also I'm like, I don't want my pasta all over the house, and the dog comes over. But who knows? I used to have Goldens growing up, and they did it all the time.
Oh yeah. Well, and something else is like you got to have a pointer with a good tail, right? So like I feel like with dogs with docked tails, you can get away with like, well, it's docked, so it's only going to look a certain way, but like it's got to be straight, or some like Fancy has a little tip on hers.
I was going to say, because some of those like pointers and setters, they go up, but they curve a little bit.
Yeah, and you don't want one. You don't want one that curves like this. You don't want.
Okay. Yeah.
They call it a sickle tail.
Oh, okay.
Don't put that in there.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like mean to people. But
no. Well, there's like breed standards and there's like conformation. Yes. So like you're saying a straight tail, like straight up, is like the ideal.
It's like what is like most like what you want,
Gotcha.
Like what you want. But like Candy, she didn't have a straight tail, but she didn't have a sickle tail. She held it more like this.
Okay.
Which isn't frowned upon.
Yeah.
There's a lot of super, really prestigious dogs that have won national championships in the all age division that don't have great tails, but they can just run like gangbusters and find birds. But I think the standard of what you want is you want that, that dog that stands with its head up and its tail up and
gotcha.
It's like a statue type thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, they're beautiful on point. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Brooke. So 2 more things here before we get wrapped up.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about, you mentioned it earlier on in the episode here, taking some maybe trips out west. First thing, have you hunted outside of Ohio? But then 2, talk about your plans coming up this fall.
Yeah, so I have hunted outside of Ohio. I've gone to PA and West Virginia. Again, not good places to hunt wild birds. But we did get into woodcock and grouse, which was great.
Nice.
And it was an opportunity for me to really see my dog. I only had Tess at the time on a different like terrain, like watching her run the mountainsides. It was like watching a completely different dog. It was so incredible. And a super experience for me. So yeah, we've done that. We plan to go to Michigan this year, which we have gone to with Candy previously. We've gone to Michigan and hunted grouse with Candy.
Okay.
But we plan to go to, let me get this right, because it's like it's a planned
Are you doing the Ben Taylor trip?
Yes.
Okay. He tried to get me to come last year and meet him up in I think South or North Dakota. I couldn't. And we're talking about maybe meeting up again.
Yes. So that would be cool. So I plan to go with him.
That's awesome.
And that's the trip, the Ben Taylor trip. Is it Minnesota?
Yeah. Cause he went, I think did he do Michigan?
Yes, but I don't think he wants to do that this time.
Okay, so like Wisconsin, Minnesota, and then over.
Yeah, and then to South Dakota is what he wants to do.
Okay.
So I'm planning to do that. But then I also want to take a Kansas trip.
Okay.
So that's what I am planning for.
Nice. So would you on the same trip? Are you thinking you would after South Dakota you go down to Kansas or?
I mean, that's the hope and pray. I
know how that goes. The planning process can be tricky.
Yes,
I get it.
Yeah. Well, and Eric will be going with me, hopefully, as well.
Yep.
And he is again Mr. Waterfowl, so it's got to be like I have to go places where I can shoot
waterfowl opportunity. Yeah, opportunity.
Yeah. So he religiously has gone to North Dakota almost every single year for like the last 4 years.
Okay.
For ducks and swans. So he, if he does that, I will definitely go with him and I will go do my own thing.
Yeah, there you go. You just go together and then kind of split off and do your own thing, meet up.
Yeah, meet up with me later. But I'm planning on doing the Ben Taylor trip.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah,
we can call it that. We can call it the Ben Taylor trip.
Ben, Ben, I hope you're listening to this. You've become you have a trip named after you now. So you kind of made it famous last year. I was so dang close to trying to meet him up last year, but I forget why it didn't work. But I'm kind of in that process right now. Nebraska. So September, I'm definitely doing like a 4 or 5 day trip to the Sand Hills, Nebraska, chasing sharp-tailed grouse. And then my big trip will be a Montana trip, which I am very, very excited about for Huns and sharptail. So then I have a buddy in North Dakota who's trying to convince me away from Montana and go up to North Dakota. So I'm a little bit torn. Jeremy, I know you're listening to this, and I'm still undecided on what I'm doing. But
I say do both.
Hey, why not?
The more the merrier.
Honey, have fun with the kids at home. I will see you in a month.
I know. And that's the hard part is getting away. Thankfully, like Eric, he has a construction company. And so his downtime is, the winter. So like he can plan trips, usually goes up to Niagara too and hunts the river. But it's harder for me to get away because I have so many animals and trying to find people to watch that, you trust.
Sure. It's a big deal.
That's always tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
All right. So last question, and actually not last question. At the very end, I go through a rapid fire question section. So we'll go through those. But I like to ask everyone, what's one piece of advice you would give a new hunter or a new bird dog owner just getting started into this? And my one caveat is with you. I know it might be a little different because you've kind of are in a lot of different things. You're in coon hounds, you're in bird dogs, you're in horses, like you're in a lot of different spaces, but just as best as you can, like what's just taking your average person, they're just getting started. They got their first bird dog. They want to get into upland hunting. Like what's something you would share with them?
I would circle back to what I said before about like setting goals, set goals for yourself as, what you want to accomplish, set goals for your dog and write them down and, do all the research that you can. I mean, if you're going to take it seriously, pretend like it's a college course and you got to learn everything that you can. And, there's a big test at the end or something. But yeah, definitely, write down your goals. And another huge thing that I will say is, just because I feel like there's a lot of negativity, especially with social media, but don't let, your failures, because you're going to have them. Don't let your failures steal your joy. If you're loving it and you're passionate about it, there's no time frame for what you can accomplish with you and your dog. So, don't let other people, ruin that for you. Cause there's always going to be somebody that says like, you're not doing it right, or you don't have the right type of dog or whatever that is. And don't let people ruin that for you because it's just about you and the dog. And, so have fun with it and, find somebody that you look up to, as a mentor, if possible, and, learn from them and ask as many questions as possible. So I think that's the approach that I've taken, because I still consider myself, very, very new to all of this. And, it's been a tremendous experience and I hope that more people do it.
That's so well said. So well said. I love that. Write your goals down, people. Write your goals down.
Yes, write them down.
I don't think I've shared this on the podcast before, but when I think Gage was a year old, I'm new. I'm figuring things out. I'm excited. Pheasant season just closed here in Colorado. I was at a hunt club here, and I remember I was talking with one of the guys who works there. And he was talking to me about my season. He's like, hey, how'd it go? I was like, it was okay. I was like, we saw some birds. And he's like, well, what kind of dog do you have? I was like, a Brittany. He's like, oh, you can't hunt pheasants with Brittany's or any pointer for that matter. It's not doable. It's not possible. And I remember leaving that conversation so discouraged. And this is my first season. I just finished with my first dog. I was excited. We saw birds. We harvested birds. Like I was feeling good. And I just remember leaving that like really down and just kind of like, oh, did I just get the wrong? Should I have gotten a Flushing dog? Like I was so confused. But fast forward, like through, mentors of mine, through people, through friends, all that, I'm like, just what you said, like, doesn't matter. Like if you're enjoying it, having fun, like don't let other people's experience or their opinions like really influence you. Cause as long as we're enjoying it, like that's really what matters.
I just never understood how people even, I always like get made fun of, for being like, oh, you're like too positive all the time. But it's like, how do people even have the time to be like that negative? Like what was bothering that man that day that made him tell you that?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's so frustrating. Just be happy for other people.
Yeah.
It's no right or wrong way.
Yeah. I might not harvest as many pheasants as someone with a flusher has, maybe not, but you know what? Like we had a great time. It was awesome.
That's all that matters.
One of my most memorable hunting seasons yet. Okay, so we are going into rapid fire section. So just give me kind of your off the cuff answer. If you need to expand on any of these, feel free.
Okay.
But so people always ask me, they're like, can I expand? I'm like, yes, of course. But, okay. If not a pointer or a coonhound, okay, because you have both those breeds. What is your favorite bird dog of choice?
Oh, I don't know.
Not an option.
I know. Maybe a Vizsla. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know that I really enjoy a big running dog, like a big running athletic dog. And I have some friends that have Vizslas and they seem like they are, just as athletic and big, hard charging dogs. So maybe something like that. But again, I don't know. I feel like I would just get another pointer.
I know we all have our breed. I always say this. I'm like, there's no wrong breed. I'm like,
no,
there's like, not at all. Get out there. But I also want to acknowledge, like, we all have our preferences. Like you lean towards the pointers. My buddy Matt leans towards the GSPs. Like we all have our things. So
and you know what? I guess it would make sense that like we would have a lab, because he waterfowl hunts and,
does Eric have a lab?
He does not. No, because and you know why he doesn't have a lab? Because all of his friends have labs. Everybody
he doesn't need one. He's fine.
He doesn't need one. So I don't know, maybe a cocker. Cockers seem really cute.
Those are cool. Yeah.
And they seem like a really good duck dog or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe I should get a waterfowl dog. Maybe there you go.
So basically, I did not get a straight answer out of you, but I'll take it.
Sorry, not sorry.
All right. A few more. Solo hunt with just you and your dogs, or a hunt with a couple friends of yours and your dogs?
Again, I'll say both. But if I'm being super, super honest, I would say a solo hunt because one, I always shoot better when I'm by myself.
Agreed.
And two, I just enjoy the time with my dogs. I just really do. So I would say a solo hunt because I would probably do way better and feel less pressure.
Well said. What gun are you carrying out into the uplands?
Oh, this is going to hurt feelings. It's a waterfowl gun.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's a Benelli M2 20 gauge.
Okay. Nice. Great choice. I'm a big Benelli fan. That's awesome.
I shoot great with it. And it was an upgrade from my pump. And it's been really good for me. And like other people have said on your podcast, it's like what you shoot best.
Yeah,
right. So
totally. 100%. If you shoot it good, keep it. Buy two of them because one breaks.
Yes. That's what I'm shooting best. So I am sticking with that until something changes.
That's great. Keep it up. Favorite bird species to hunt?
Well, right now, I guess I'll just say woodcock. So,
okay.
But that will change. I'm sure that will change.
Yeah. New experiences, new exposures this year, maybe. Okay. Awesome. Beverage of choice after a hunt?
Vodka. Always.
Ooh, okay. Nice.
Vodka. with a big splash of lemon juice. I mean,
nice.
A ginormous splash.
All right. That's a first. Most guys are like going like Coors or I think my last episode, he said, some kind of liquor. Bourbon, maybe? Yeah, maybe like old fashioned or something like that. I forget.
Yeah.
You were paying attention. Yeah. Oh yeah. Greg was awesome. He was like, it's like your classic, like pheasant hunter. He's just like, he's the kind of guy you want to like sit down and have a beer with, but
yes.
Okay, this one I know is going to put you in a pickle. I don't know if you saw this on the list or not. Horses or dogs? Just horses or dogs?
What is the phrase that people say? Like you dance with the one that brought you?
Sure.
So I guess it would be horses, because horses brought me to dogs.
To the dogs. Okay, I can see that.
Brought me to dogs. So, but yeah. I would say though, as of the last, last 10 years, wow, time goes by fast. Last 10 years, I have been so solely focused on the dogs, but the horses are one that brought me. So.
Okay. So you're sticking by the horses.
Yeah. That makes me really sad to say, but it is.
That's awesome. Well, Brooke, no, I kind of felt like I threw the in there at the last minute. I was like, I'm gonna see if she can answer this. Yeah. So Brooke, thank you first off, just for jumping on here, just sharing your passions about horses and dogs and hunting and coon hounds and even the trial aspect. I really liked hearing about that more. What is a good way for people just to follow you, get a hold of you if they have questions or keep up with what you're doing?
I think it's just Brooke Lanning. Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast. It's
actually Brooke _Lanning.
Oh, okay.
I just checked. I just double checked. I had it pulled up.
That is correct.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait. Hopefully you get on that Ben Taylor trip.
Yes.
Hopefully you have a blast and checking out some new species and new land, and that'll be a blast. But I definitely would love to have you back on the podcast in the future. So
absolutely. It'll be updated and there'll be more goals to check off. So.
Absolutely. Yes. We'll talk about those goals.
Yes.
Awesome, Brooke. Well, thanks again. And you have a great rest of your kind of training season, getting ready for hunting, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Well, that is a wrap of episode 13. Brooke, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation, talking everything from trialing your dogs, coon dogs, pointing dogs, pointers, I will say, hunting in Ohio. Ben Taylor, you better be listening to this episode. That's all I got to say. Hearing about your trip out west, just your love for the uplands and bird dogs and horses and animals in general. Brooke, I really appreciate that conversation. Hey guys, listen up and remember, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast. It's only going to help the podcast get out there to more hunters just like you. Written reviews always help. I read every single written review. We're up to about 50 now, and they just mean the world to me. It really encourages me, but also we got to please Apple's algorithm. It really does help push the podcast out there to more people. Hey, don't forget about the Dakota 283 giveaway closing at the end of July. Get your stories written in. I want to hear how you got started upland hunting or why, and what got you into bird dogs. Craft your story. Doesn't have to be perfect. Send it in. I will read it on the air, and I will try to do a better job of reading those on the podcast as well. Jumbled those a little bit. Anyways, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Remember, if you're not fortunate enough to hunt with or own a Brittany, any bird dog is better than no bird dog. Go put some miles on those boots. Take care.